Good evening, beautiful humans. How are we this evening? I hope this day is finding you absolutely amazing and phenomenal. And today, being a Tuesday evening, I am only slightly stuffy once again. I think that we are sharing the stuffy face. I am going to share that I am on live right now with my people to make sure the notifications go out. And try not to shake the camera. Hello, beautiful. I'm so happy you're here. I am so excited you're here, Allison. Thank you for being here, lovely. I am so pumped too. Let's see. Sharing live. Tonight. So it is the full moon, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the full moon and about the energies that are at play right now. If you are joining me for the very first time, welcome. My name is Amanda. I am a spiritual intuitive, and what that means to me, the way that I mean intuitive, is that I have the ability to perceive multiple frequencies of energy in multiple dimensional realities, which makes for a really awesome and insane kind of brain. And I like to get on here and talk about the experiences that I have been having all week in meditation, in my work, the things I'm perceiving, and some of the messages that have been coming through to help you navigate energy, spiritual energy, relationship energy, whatever kind of energy is at play in your life right now. All of us are being affected by the unified field of energy in the world. And I am here today to talk about the full moon energy, what we can expect, how it's feeling. I'm going to talk about the energy of the eclipse and my experience of it and some of the things that have unfolded since then. And I'm going to be talking about the energy you can expect coming into May, because all of the cycles on the planet go through 2, 3, and 4 week cycles. And this one in the springtime is so incredibly potent right now. And of course, I like to do all of that from the perspective of my higher self and keep that line of communication open so that anything that comes through to share in addition to that, I will share with you. Now, if you would like to ask a question, please put it in the comments box and I will absolutely answer it for you. If it is not something that you want answered on a live public platform, feel free to message me via Facebook and I would love to answer you there. And there's options. So I love that you're here. Welcome. Thank you. If something's on your mind, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear about your experiences. So feel free to share. Share, comment, all that happy goodness. And we're going to dive right into it. Make sure that went out. Okay. Fabulous. So I am going to try to get through this without having to blow my nose too much. We have been passing the sinus stuff around. I just was able to start breathing out of my nose again this week, and then my husband got sick, and then he gave it back to me. So now it's all up in my sinuses for the second time in a 3-week period. Let me tell you. And he navigates it like a champ. My husband is so used to dealing with sinus congestion or drainage or pressure that he navigates it so much better than me. I become a giant baby and complain about not being able to breathe out of my nose. But hopefully I'm changing the script on that and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better from here, y'all. And hopefully I won't have to, interrupt myself too many times. Where to start? Well, let's start with the eclipse energy because that energy has been playing a huge part in the energy we're experiencing now. Part of the way we view our world flying through space, we have entered into a new frequency, and I've talked about that a lot. So I'm going to briefly retouch on that because we now have access to things that we have not had access to before in terms of frequency, the frequency that is coming in onto the planet that's helping waken up our beautiful planet, our mother Gaia, and the way she's changing is all brand new. And so we've come into this new energy, this new awakening experience. The consciousness coming into the planet right now is a consciousness that is so high in frequency and so elevated in frequency. And I feel as though our job societally everywhere is to help nurture these amazingly powerful creative souls that are coming in to build new structures and to put new things in place in the world. And I'm here for it. And if you're here watching me, then you signed up to be here with me during this time to be here for these changes. And you're probably the parent of a child that is part of this great awakening. And we're just kind of holding on for the ride. We are holding on in the river of life, trying to float on our little dinghies down through the rapids. And we're going to get through it. Like, that's all I can say is we're going to get through it. And it is a beautiful thing. As the energy of the eclipse peaked, I got to observe with my physical eyes one of the most beautiful things. The last time I saw an eclipse that was a total eclipse that was observable in the United States, I was 7 years old. And it's a time that I will never forget because it felt so important. And it was a beautiful experience. And I tried to share that experience with my children who are now 6 and 9. They were mildly interested and greatly uninterested through the course of the experience. But as the eclipse was reaching its peak, I could physically see in like waves of energy in the sky. And I would look on the ground and I could see the shadow of ripples waving one direction across the whole area. And I could feel my blood vibrating and shaking inside of my cells, inside of my body. And it was beautiful. And I opened myself up in that moment to receive the activation that was about to just light up the planet. And understanding that this alignment was kind of like a laser weaving one line of a thread around the planet, because as it eclipsed in my area, it had all that laser had already passed other parts of the surface of the planet. And I viewed it as kind of this weaving with a laser light into a line of energy on the planet. And it was palpable. It was so palpable. You saw the waves, yes, and your cells were jiggling, yes. It was so beautiful, so beautiful. As that happened, it built up to the peak, and then as soon as the peak ended, though, I watched like a wave just end. Like you could see, like the wave just whoop, and it ended. What that has brought up, like activated within us, is the ability to become who we are trying to be with this new light, with this new wave of energy. So for me, it really dug deep into the roots of my past in this body, but it also brought with it the past of my ancestral lineage. So the genetic memory that we are waking up right now is unbelievably powerful. The genetic gifts that we have been given through our family bloodline is powerful. Getting over the genetic emotional trauma has been the hump, the hurdle, the challenge that we have been experiencing for the last almost 2 years. And as these challenges are coming up to be dealt with, we are making space. We are making space to really feel and embrace these genetic gifts that we have been given, because genetically, in our cells, in our organs, our body is a lighthouse of frequency that creates everything. And that is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. So through that eclipse experience, kind of the fallout of that has been widespread low key or high key illnesses, ranging from all different kinds of things. From like me personally, I was sick the next day. And then I had a bunch of other people in my awareness who all also came down with sickness, either sinus congestion, coughs, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, ear infections, eye infections. I had strep and pink eye. Everybody in my kids' school had strep, had pink eye, had a sinus infection or a lung infection of some kind. It's been so widespread. And then all of the clients that I have spoken with over the last couple of weeks since then have also been dealing with things in the nature of breathing, the throat, the lungs, the sinuses, and the eyes and the ears. Ringing in the ears, pain in the ear has been widespread. Things like this, these things are coming up because the cells of our body are trying to release that energy and release that memory of those experiences. When we go through a transition like that, our cells, as it tries to express, tries to let go of negative energy, but that negative energy will find the weak spots in our immune system, in our physical body. And if we're prone to like, oh, I know that I have like a weird right knee, that it goes out sometimes, that negative energy is going to coalesce in that part of your body and create an issue there as we're trying to process it. So this has been all over that these things are popping up and needing to be dealt with. It's not just in my personal life, but I acknowledge that I have been going through some big genetic, emotional identity changes, which is leading to me being susceptible when I'm not taking care of or looking at the proper thing. Then we become susceptible to these types of illnesses and infections. I'm very fortunate because I feel very good. It's not really like taking me out physically. It's just super annoying. But that also makes it more tempting to ignore what the underlying energy of it is. And so I'm taking extra effort to make sure I'm not ignoring what the instigating energy is underneath my sinus experience. So if you've been experiencing that over the last couple of weeks, know that yes, that is normal. And yes, it is going to pass. And as long as we keep processing our stuff through our body, speaking to ourselves lovingly, lean into that self-care where you're taking your salt baths, you're taking care of yourself, you're getting plenty of rest, you're drinking your water, doing some kind of physical activity that really gets the body to slough off the icky energy. We're going to make it. Like, we're going to make it. We're going to come out the other side, and it is going to be so, so beautiful. Leading up into this beautiful full moon, we are in the full moon in Scorpio. Now, I always forget, and I had to look it up again, that Scorpio is actually a water sign because the scorpion to me is not in water. The scorpion to me is in the desert. And I'm like, how are you in the desert and in water? But I don't question these things because they're just too accurate for me. So I don't question them. I just relay the information. But being that this full moon is in Scorpio, we already know that full moons are amplifier energies. It is an alignment similar to a laser that allows us to excel our growth, our creation, our manifestation, our healing journey, whatever it is that we put out to the universe is amplified during the time of the full moon. So a lot of times, whatever emotion is being expressed, is being felt in that time, that emotion is also going to be amplified. And navigating that has been quite a journey building up to this full moon this week because of how emotional us water signs tend to get. We experience an emotion and we will ride that until it becomes Mount Everest. And then we are ending up having to emotionally navigate Mount Everest in our own experience of it. So, with that being said, we are also in April, right in the middle of spring. This is our pink moon. It's known as the pink moon of springtime, where all of the things are starting to blossom and bloom. So, in addition to Scorpio amplifying all of these really powerful creative energies, we're also in the creative energy of springtime where things are starting to take root, things are starting to germinate, and some things are going to start popping out of the ground here in the next month. That really everywhere around us it says, hey, we are growing into something new, we're becoming something bigger, and here's some of the things that we can look out for and be aware of as we're going through this transitional period. Some of the things that come up around our identity and the way we show up in the world. You will not get what you are looking for if you don't know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you want, you are not going to get it. So what kind of seeds are you consciously sowing on your spiritual journey, your healing journey, your relationship journeys, your parenting journeys. What are you cultivating? What do you want out of the experience of life you're getting? And are you doing the things, taking the actions that are going to get you to that place? And that's really what has been the cornerstone question over the last several months as these energies are triggering this growth and this expansion and triggering those questions that allow you to grow into them. So, being in the water sign, Scorpio is all about creativity, taking control, ruling of the self and the intellect self, but it also has a big energy of sexuality and intimacy. And what I feel is being highlighted in this particular one is how we identify with our own sexuality, with how we identify within our own intimate space with self. Are you comfortable sitting in silence alone? Are you comfortable meditating in silence with the self? Or are you that person that is constantly looking for stimulation to distract you from sitting with yourself and feeling yourself inside of your body with your consciousness? How are you feeling? How are you sitting with self? Some of those emotions are going to be amplified and it can get a little bit chaotic when we're constantly looking for that outside stimulus or outside validation that this is who I am in the world. Don't let the world tell you who you are in your skin because the world is the judge. The world is not justice. The world is not fair. The world is not anything that you need to be relying on for your personal identity of self. You must take the time to go in during this time and answer those hard questions. Find the answer to the hard questions. Who am I? Where am I going? What do I want? And am I doing what it takes to get there? And you will make progress. You'll either have a beautiful burst of inspiration or the answer is going to be given to you. Right now, the veil on the world that keeps our dimensional realities separate is very thin. And we come and go in these heightened experiences of being able to really touch an interdimensional being, which, for clarification, when I say interdimensional being, I'm referring to angels, guides, ancestors, aliens, the works, all of the interdimensional spaces, because an angel is a living, breathing consciousness that exists in another realm of reality. And every once in a while, those realities connect with our physical reality and we can touch them. And we go through phases where the veils that separate us get very thin and we can have a more broader, more connected experience of what that is like. So be on the lookout for how that feels for you going into the summertime, because we are going to have a really big thinning towards the end of the summer where there is going to be a lot of heightened intuition, heightened psychic experiences, heightened sense of vision, and things are going to be coming out of the woodwork, heightened dream states, all of it. And we are not in that level of control where we get to choose not to have those experiences, because unilaterally across the planet, all of our brains have the capability of making those connections. And we're coming into the place now where those connections are going to happen, regardless of the ego's desire for that experience or not. We will always have the free will to choose what we do with those experiences and how we receive them, but they're going to start happening and people are going to start being uncomfortable. And before I get too far ahead in our summer into fall time, bringing it back to the Scorpio energy, this is the time to ask those creative questions and build on something that you desire to build on rather than allowing the world to tell you what you are. You know what you are and who you are in the world. And if you don't, there are ways to find out. So take that time with self. Make sure you're taking your salt baths, clearing your attachments and connections so that you can have more of your own energy moving forward in this full moon. Now we are coming into the last week of April already. I cannot believe how fast time is going to continue to fly by. And before we know it, it's going to be Yuletide and Christmas and all of it. It's going to be the end of the year. And then we'll be in the middle of winter and it's going to go so fast. So the way that you want to experience in the world is it's important. It's important to get on the ball and get on it in the springtime, because by the time fall rolls around, everything is going to be shifting and changing very quickly. So once again, I feel this is a really good place to say that if you have any questions for me about anything I'm talking about, please feel free to type them in the comments and I will answer them for you. I would be more than happy to do so. Or if you want to share an experience of something that's happening, let me know. Let me know how it's feeling. Let me know how this resonates with you. Beautiful, beautiful. So, couple of themes that we are coming into as we close out April. So this energy is going to persist through the rest of April and into the first 2 weeks in May. And when we are closing in on the new moon, we're going to get a little bit of shift of energy, but we have a good week-long transition period between the new moon moving into the full moon for next month, where our focus right now, so one thing at a time, not 3 or 4. Some things to be aware of as we move forward through the end of April. So for the next 2 weeks, we are being asked to question where we are standing with ourselves and our identity, and particularly to pay attention to where we are potentially disassociating with ourselves and our identity. What are we letting go of, or what is hiding in our intention or expectation? So the questions that keep coming up around that, what are you expecting of yourself over the next 2 weeks? What do you expect of yourself when you are in a relationship with your partner? What do you expect of yourself as a parent? What do you expect of yourself as a daughter or son or a sibling? Like, asking those questions, what are the expectations? We are holding, and they're coming out as we experience this shift and start to get uncomfortable. It is because we are not addressing the unseen expectations we have for ourselves and others. And it is starting to come to the forefront. I'm seeing this polarizing energy when I look at the unified field of consciousness and I see these little pockets of groups of communities. And we have these groups of communities that are kind of lackadaisical. They're playing in the past. They're not really moving forward, but they're kind of trying to hold on to what was before. But then I'm experiencing these pockets of society that are being super progressive and they're making a lot of progress forward, but it's very chaotic. It's very hard. It's very not good feeling because they're not meeting their own expectations or what they thought they would do or where they thought they would be at this time. And so be aware of both of those dichotomies. We learn from our past experiences, but those past experiences can hold us back if we do not reconcile our identity with our reality. When we play too much in the past, it's easy to compare it to the now. And when we remember the good and compare it to the now, we're always longing and we're always expecting something else. And when we're always pondering on the negative of the past and comparing it to the now, we're always finding excuses to then be our own self-fulfilling prophecies and repeat the past. So that's been coming up a lot in the unified field, coming up this week and next week, moving into May. So be aware of your expectations. As you can identify your expectations for yourself, you can then start to ask yourself, what is it that I expect of someone else? Because if you have an expectation for yourself that you do not meet, you mirror that, you project that onto someone else. If you expect that you are this kind of partner that does X, Y, and Z, you will assume your partner is the kind of partner that does X, Y, and Z. And if you're not paying attention to it, it can really, really get into those relationship attachments and create a lot of havoc. So if you're experiencing those kinds of things, that's the question you can ask yourself. That's the direction you can go. Not to put too fine a point on it, but understand what is worth your energy in a conflict and what is not worth your energy in a conflict. We have a saying about that, as parents, is to choose your battle. Our children can fight every step of the way all day long, and they have an infinite amount of energy, and they can have the ability to fight all day long about every single little thing. And we come to this place, my husband and I, in parenting, where we said, well, we know this is going to be a battle, and this is going to be a battle, and this is going to be a battle. Let's choose the ones we have the energy for, and then take everything that is not absolutely vitally important and say that fight can wait. It can wait for tomorrow. It can wait for another time. It's not worth the time and energy and stress to have that fight. Do that with yourself. What kinds of ways are you engaging with people? Does it feel good, or are you feeling the desire to pull back? And then honor that feeling of pulling back. As I was drawing some cards, one of the cards that continually came up this week was that we're spending our energy on egotistical fights and trying to look better or present better on the surface, but we're not dealing with the internal struggle inside. And the internal struggle is what is being triggered right now to be healed. The internal struggle of self. Does your reality in your physical life match the reality that you think it should be in your head? And if it doesn't, you're going to have an internal conflict. And resolving internal conflict is the name of the game moving into the next month, where you can identify where you're having these conflicts and hopefully utilize the tools, the meditation, the journaling, the salt baths, the good conversation, maybe find a coach or a mentor, help you get through that internal conflict, because once it's identified, it tends to feel really, really strong. Just ask me. I have personal experience about that and go through that on the regular, because I believe in always growing and always changing, not based on circumstance, but based on what I desire to shift. There's a reason that I always come back to the meditation and the journaling. And that reason is that it works. It gets your mind in a different perspective. It gets things out of your head and onto paper. It gets things manifesting in your reality, and it can move stagnation through your body when you put pen to paper, or even if you type it out on a computer. It's a little different, but it still works. Meditation is the cornerstone of listening to the self and being able to shift the perception that you have of yourself and your experience, what you're having in your experience. I will always come back to those. Finding a mentor, finding someone to follow or to help facilitate the changes and the perspectives you need, priceless, absolutely priceless. And I have a couple of different people that I follow for myself to have some of those shifts, and it always has helped facilitate the shift that I need, because we don't always see what we need to see about ourselves in order to shift, which is part of what makes paying attention to energy so challenging for most people, is we don't know or are unaware of the kind of energy that we're carrying around on a daily basis. And that level of awareness is important in moving and transforming with some of these things that are coming into the world right now. Hey, first time. Now, coming out of these energies, coming into the month of May, we're also going to go through that transition of the inner self. And I want to talk a little bit about that transition and as it correlates to genetic emotional memory. Genetic emotional memory that has been imprinted on our cells since before we were born, since the very formation of our cells started. There are multiple generations of memories that are imprinted into the genetic cell, into the genetic code of the human, that's passed from generation to generation to generation. These activations that are coming onto the planet right now are holding the frequency that is going to activate the consciousness of your genetic code. As that starts to happen, there are multiple potential realities that are going to unfold throughout the year as all of the cells start to catch on to this activating line of consciousness. And when they start to embody that line of consciousness, your internal struggle is going to become stronger if you do not shift with that change. How you can shift into that change is paying attention to it, for one, coming into your divine heart and being aware of your energy. Cultivate your self awareness, not only the awareness of your environment, but the awareness of your energy and consciousness. The more you can focus on your consciousness, the consciousness that you are, because you are not the body is the vessel for the consciousness that you experience in the subconscious. The more you can be aware of that aspect of self and align with that frequency, the easier it is going to be to shift the patterns, to shift the mind, and to come into the perspective of your light being here in the world and what that is for. Every individual has come to this planet to hold a frequency of sound for a specific purpose. And at some point, everyone, where we are going in our history, everyone is either going to choose to leave the body or they are going to remember that mission, that purpose, that calling that is designed for them, and they will embrace it. That is where we are going in the world, and it is going to take several years as this unfolds, because this beautiful little body of cells have billions and billions and billions of cells to wake up, to remember, and they're replacing themselves every X amount of years with a new version of themselves. So lean into this time of creation. You are the light, you are the consciousness in creation, in manifestation, in action in the world, and you have the power, you truly have the power to create the life experience that you desire to have while serving the people that you contracted and agreed to come into this world and serve. And I know that, and I see that in you. And I hope that this time in your life is extra creative, extra powerful. Not only that, but extra fruitful and multiplies in your life. Going into the full moon in May is going to be a glorious experience, as that full moon in May is going to bring us into the summertime in June, and it is going to be very, very abundant and overflowing with abundance, gratitude, and peace and harmony. Now, touching on the topic of peace and harmony within the self, one of the things that I learned today as I was working with my clients, my voice, my consciousness, the one I'm listening to now, came into me, and I have a very large heart space that I like to hold for people to stay in the frequency of peace. And today, as I was working with someone, I was given the message, peace is not what is needed right now. And I've never been told that by my consciousness before. And so I asked, please elaborate, because like this is my go-to. I like to cultivate peace in the hearts of others. And they said, this person is not have the capacity to receive the peace. It will not be a productive peace. Now is the time for conflict, because conflict moves people to action. Conflict makes people uncomfortable to make changes and face themselves. The perspective of the person would then to be in, oh, I feel good, I don't have to do anything, I feel nice, I feel good, I feel peaceful, let's stay here. And that is not what was needed in the moment to serve that person. And my consciousness showed me how all of that comes together, and I'm sharing that with you so that you have this association, because the energy of finding inner peace is a beautiful, powerful thing. And I encourage everyone to find it. But I also encourage you to be very real. Are you seeking out peace as a way of avoiding getting clarity, as a way of avoiding an experience that doesn't feel good? It's okay to not feel good. It's okay to have emotions we don't like. That is part of the human experience, and it's part of how we are expressing right now. So be aware when you're seeking out peaceful states, if you're doing it to avoid something, because that was very, very powerful thing today to learn that when we're in certain perspectives, we don't receive the peace that we need. We use it as something else. That applies to so many states of being, dependent upon how our ego receives it, how our subconscious receives it. So it applies to more things than just peace. It also applies to gratitude and wealth and people and relationships and affection. So there is a topic that you can go explore moving into the month of May, and be very, very real with yourself on where you're facing your internal conflict, where you're choosing to go with your identity, and how you're showing up in the world, but also being very real with what are you entertaining that's holding you down? Because we are in a time of becoming unbridled and unleashed and be set free in the world. Psychologically, emotionally, energetically, that is what is in the process of happening right now. So I hope that this time has been amazing for you as it has been for me. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me. Again, I will go back and continue to read comments after this. I love all of that. In closing, I just want to share with you that I will be going on a spiritual pilgrimage in May, and I cannot wait for this experience, going to Sedona, Arizona, where I'm going to get to connect with and move into the frequency of an ascended master and the frequency of this beautiful interdimensional ascended master, and learn and bring that energy to people. So I cannot wait. Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely beautiful year, and it's the perfect time to do it. So take chances. Go out there and take a chance on you. Invest in you. Take the leap for you and see where it can bring you. That's all I got for you tonight. I love you all so very, very much. And I thank you so very much for sharing this time with me. I see the divinity in you that is the divinity in me. I will be going live 2 times in May, so stay tuned for those dates and stay tuned for more information about my upcoming pilgrimage. You are so very welcome, Allison. Thank you so much for being here. I am sending you so much love, beautiful. Yay. More lives, more lives. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week, and I will see you all in May. Bye.